Prophet Isaiah carried Mia deeper into the dark forest toward the secret chamber where unspeakable horrors awaited. The air was thick with malice as the other cult members, including the newly initiated Mr. Isaac, gathered around. Mia lay motionless, still under the influence of the drugs. The prophet approached Mr. Isaac with a sinister grin, handing him a knife. "You must be the one to take her life," the prophet instructed. "This will seal your initiation. The entire process will be recorded and kept as leverage, ensuring your loyalty to us forever. One betrayal, and this tape will send you to prison." Mr. Isaac's heart raced. He had never imagined that this was the price of wealth and power. His hands trembled violently as he held the knife, eyes fixed on Mia's unconscious body laid out on the extraction table. The dim light flickered in the room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The weight of his decision was unbearable. Could he really become a murderer for the promise of wealth? As he approached Mia, the knife heavy in his hand, her eyes fluttered open. Her voice was weak but filled with desperation. "Please, don't kill me," she whispered. "I need to live. My brother, his murderers walk freely in the city. I have to avenge him. Please help me escape, and I will willingly offer myself to you afterwards without complaint. But please, let me live." Her words struck Mr. Isaac deep in his soul. Tears welled up in Mia's eyes as she slipped back into unconsciousness. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. "Do it!" the cult members roared, their voices full of impatience. "We have no time. If you don't, you'll replace her on that table." Cold terror ran down Mr. Isaac's spine. It was either his life or hers, and either way, no one was coming out of that place alive. He swallowed hard, tightening his grip on the knife, ready to make the fatal decision. But just as he raised the blade to strike, the chamber door burst open with a deafening crash. "Freeze!" the police shouted, storming into the room with their guns drawn. The cult members stood frozen in shock, their plans unraveling before their eyes. Mr. Isaac dropped the knife immediately, his trembling hands now free from the weight of the choice. It was over. Mr. Isaac wasn't just another desperate man looking for wealth. He was an undercover cop, sent to infiltrate the cult and expose their twisted secrets. The church had been under investigation for years, but no one had been able to get this close to uncovering the truth until now. Isaac had been secretly recording everything from the moment they entered the tunnel, waiting for the right moment to call in his team. His delay to take Mia's life wasn't indecision, it was strategy. As Prophet Isaiah was led away in handcuffs, his eyes seethed with fury. "I should have known," he muttered bitterly, glaring at Isaac. Mr. Isaac, now with a subtle grin, looked back at him. Too late. With the cult leaders arrested, Mr. Isaac gently lifted Mia from the table, cradling her limp body as they walked out of the dense forest. The nightmare was over, but the scars would remain. Mia's fate had hung in the balance that night, but she had survived. As Isaac carried her to safety, there was a sense of fragile hope, but the haunting question remained: how many others had met their end before this night? And what would Mia do now that she had a second chance at life? At the hospital, Mr. and Mrs. Olabode sat by Mia's bedside, their faces wet with tears. They held her hands, trembling, as they begged for forgiveness. "We should have listened to you," Mrs. Olabode wept, her voice breaking. "We were deceived, blinded by greed. We thought we were protecting you, but we were putting you into more danger, far worse than poverty." Mr. Olabode bowed his head, the guilt crushing him. "We lost Luca, our only son, because of our foolishness. We chased after wealth and lost what mattered most." Mia, though exhausted from her ordeal, could feel their remorse. But nothing could bring back Luca. The ache in her heart was a constant reminder that no amount of regret could undo the damage. Meanwhile, the police were unraveling the full extent of the cult's reach. More arrests followed, as the names of the powerful and corrupt were exposed. Elijah and Theodore's fathers, who were both strong, prominent members of the secret cult, were arrested in their offices, their influence and wealth no longer able to shield them from justice. The next day, Mia returned to school, her steps heavy with the weight of what had been lost. But she wasn't alone. The police flanked her as she entered her classroom, her eyes burning with righteous anger. "Show us those responsible for your brother's death," one of the officers said. Without hesitation, Mia pointed at Elijah and Theodore. The two boys who had once gloated over their power and privilege broke down in tears as they were led away in chains. Their families' empires, built on lies and blood, were now crumbling. Their wings had been cut, their fathers were now in jail for murder, and all their wealth could not save them any longer. They had been doing a lot of evil and getting away with it before, but they never knew this time. This poor girl called Mia and the boy they forced into his death would be the ones to finally take not just them, but their entire family down. The head teacher approached Mia, offering a rare smile of gratitude. "You've saved this school from the grip of the corrupt elite. You fought for justice when many others would have stayed silent." "Thank you," the head teacher said to Mia. In his gratitude, he offered Mia a scholarship to finish her secondary school in the Victory High College. Afterward, Liam found Mia outside the classroom. His eyes were filled with understanding as they shared a moment of silence. They had both lost so much, endured unimaginable pain, but there was a sense of solidarity and profound love between them now. "Thank you," Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper, "for standing up for Luca, for fighting when no one else would." Liam nodded, his eyes soft with emotion. "We fought together." A strong friendship between them was brewing that would lead to more beautiful things in time. Weeks later, the school invited all the parents, and everyone was gathered for a special school meeting. The head teacher invited Mia to the podium, asking her to speak on the dangers of bullying. As she walked up to the stage, the memories of Luca's laughter and innocence flooded her mind. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she stood strong, ready to deliver a speech that would shake the hearts of everyone in the room. Mia stood at the podium, her eyes scanning the faces of the students, teachers, and parents gathered before her. The silence in the hall was deafening as she gripped the edges of the wooden stand, trying to steady her trembling hands. It was a moment of profound reflection, a time to confront the pain, the loss, and the lessons learned. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Luca's absence pressing down on her chest. "Luca," she began, her voice breaking. "Luca was my brother, my best friend. He was born with a disability, but that never stopped him from dreaming. He had the biggest heart, the most beautiful soul. He was gentle, kind, and he saw the world in a way many of us never could. To him, life was full of possibilities despite his challenges." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. The memories of Luca flooding her mind. His laughter, his hope, his resilience remained strong despite the cruelty he faced. But those dreams were cut short because of bullying, Mia continued, her voice cracking. Because some people saw his disability as a weakness, something to mock and exploit. Luca jumped off the roof. He was forced to take his own life by people who didn't see his heart, his dreams, or his worth. And now, he's gone. Tears welled up in Mia's eyes, and she could feel them burning down her cheeks as she struggled to keep her composure. I never thought I'd lose him this way. Every day I wonder what he could have become, what more he could have achieved, but now, I'll never know." Mia's voice faltered. The weight of grief was too much. She closed her eyes, letting the silence of the room wash over her as her shoulders began to shake. She couldn't speak for a few seconds. The sorrow overwhelmed her, tears flowed freely, and the hall was filled with the sound of quiet sobs from the students and parents watching her, feeling the rawness of her pain. After what felt like an eternity, Mia wiped her tears and forced herself to continue. "Luca didn't deserve this," she whispered. "No one deserves this. Bullying is not just kids being kids. It's cruelty. It's taking someone's spirit and breaking it piece by piece. And in Luca's case, it took his life." She paused again, her voice growing firmer as she regained her strength. "I want every person in this room to remember something. Behind every disability is a person with dreams, feelings, and hopes. Luca may have been different in the way he walked or the way he talked, but he wasn't different in the way he loved. He wasn't different in the way he wanted to belong, but he was made to feel less than, and that's what killed him." Mia took a deep breath, her gaze shifting towards the parents. To the parents, please, I beg you, listen to your children. When they tell you they are being bullied, when they cry for help, don't dismiss it. Don't think it's something that will pass. It can cost a life. It cost my brother's. Don't let it cost yours too. She turned back to the students, her voice softening, but the emotion still palpable. And to all of you, my fellow students, show kindness, show love. Don't judge someone because they look different, speak differently, or aren't as privileged as you are. We are all human beings with hearts that can break. You never know what someone is going through, and you never know how much harm a cruel word, a shove, or a laugh can do. Tears glistened in Mia's eyes once more, but this time there was a fire in her voice. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. And don't be the reason someone else feels that way. Life is too short for cruelty. The way we treat others defines us. Be the person who lifts someone up, not the one who pushes them down. Mia's voice softened again as she neared the end of her speech. There's an adage that says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Luca was small, his struggles were many, but his heart was enormous. He believed in the goodness of people, and I want to believe in that too. But we have to be better. We have to do better. For Luca, for every child who has been bullied, for every person who has ever felt less than human. She paused one last time, her voice barely above a whisper as she concluded. Please, I beg you, be kind. Choose love over hate. Choose empathy over indifference. And no matter someone's shape, color, race, or financial status, remember, we are all deserving of kindness, respect, and love. Mia wiped her tears again and looked out into the audience. The hall was silent, save for the quiet sniffling of many who were moved by her words. And then slowly, one by one, the students began to stand. The sound of clapping filled the room, growing louder and louder until the entire assembly was on their feet, giving Mia the standing ovation she had so deeply earned. As Mia walked back to her seat, her legs felt heavy with exhaustion, but her heart was lighter. She had done it. She had spoken for Luca, for Liam, and for every child who had been wronged. And though she was still broken by the things she had endured, she knew one thing for certain. Luca's death would not be in vain. She would be the voice for every child who could no longer speak, and she would never stop fighting until the cruelty of bullying was silenced for good. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like, share, and comment for more interesting stories like this. And until we meet again, stay blessed, and I'll see you in my next story.